Hey guys, Tupuria King here. Welcome back to another Train Like a King podcast episode. This is another video and audio podcast. Doing this one on the new laptop for the first time. So hopefully all is well. And in today's episode, I am talking about how to customize any training plan for maximum results. Now, obviously, I've released the new training plans over the last few weeks, and they're on the website, everything from sprints to distance plans, and these are basically training blueprints, training plans, training blueprints that basically, you know, have some level of self assessment or prescription, because, based on how far away your race is, based on what type of race you're training for, and also your training level, I've provided a variety of different plans to kind of cater to everyone as best as possible. However, there is some things that you can do to optimize your training plan that you have selected, because there is an element of me not being there for you on a day-to-day basis, or having the opportunity or the time to really personalize the training plans. So there's a lot of things that you can do to help these training plans work for you, or improve how they will work for you. So I'm going to go over a few of these points. So the first thing is basically understanding your goals, or your journey, or your event. Now, this traces back to actually picking the right program for you. And I always say the easiest way to do this is by understanding how far away your training plan is, and picking the appropriate duration, because you want to provide a good build up to your specific race. Now, the other part of the equation is picking the right event that you're training for, so whether it's sprints or long distance. Some people think that the distance plans don't include interval training, but they actually do. You're just training a different way for a long distance event. And then some people think that the sprint plan is sometimes they think the sprint plan is still for long distance. It's actually, the sprint plan is designed for our World Sprint Championships or National Sprint Championships. So events like the 500-meter sprints, your 1,000 meters, those shorter distances. That program is specifically catered to that. Here in New Zealand, sprints is a very common event. We have a very big national event here in New Zealand, and we have a very established campaign that, elite campaign, club campaign that sends crews to the World Championships every year. So that's that. Now, there's also the training level. So this is a good point to talk about, because we have novice, intermediate, advanced, and elite training plans. Now, this is where I've tried to cater for all the different training levels out there. Novice, even though I've called this novice, it has 3 on-water sessions, up to 3 on-water sessions per week. Now, the reason why I don't create any training plans below this is basically, for me, 3 paddling sessions a week is the minimum if you're looking for any performance outcome. If you're doing less than 3 paddling sessions a week, then it's likely that your paddling is more of a leisure activity for fun on the weekends and getaway. So maybe these plans aren't for you. There's an element of performance behind these training plans. This isn't a leisurely paddling plan, I would say. So despite the level being novice, it still requires some good time, effort, and commitment to complete a plan, And I would say, even myself, when I'm not specifically focusing for on something. There's some weeks that I might be performing or completing as much as my novice plans. Some weeks I might be doing intermediate levels, some advanced. So there's room to play with here. And even though you might only be paddling 3 days a week already, maybe you opt to go for an intermediate plan, which is 4 days a week. And understand that even though you have a plan that has 4 days a week, you don't have to do all 4 days. You can still be on the 3 days a week, and that way you actually can pick 3 of the 4 workouts, which actually starts to have options, and those options allow you to cater for things like fatigue. You might opt for the easier session versus the harder session. So these are things that you can do on a training plan like this. And I actually advocate for it. When you get your plan, I don't expect you to just do everything to a T, although it is always good to push your limits. Like if you're really looking to breaking plateaus, and build performance and get to take your fitness to that next level, it's going to require a little bit of sacrifice. It's going to require a little bit of fatigue. It's going to require a little bit of, I would say, even, sometimes where I've made my breakthroughs have been when I'm touching on levels of overtraining. As long as you can identify them a little bit early and pull back, but keep going, pull back. The more you do this, the more you will understand yourself, the more you will understand, so that's the missing link. Yes, the training plans are important. You need structure, you need a plan, but what it comes down to is you internally, how you feel. And you can look at that in a broader aspect in terms of the whole entire training plan, but you can also look at it in the very essence of paddling itself. Like, for example, you can get so caught up in what your GPS or your speed monitor is telling you, but at the end of the day, when you're on the water and you're in the race, whatever that data is telling you is not necessarily going to make you perform better. It's what's internally, it's the way that you feel, it's the way that you strategize for your race. These things, coupled with the data, is going to take you to that next level. So I always recommend picking a plan. Pick a plan that maybe test your limits. Like I said, instead of going for the novice plan right out the gate, maybe go for the intermediate. Or if you're already at an intermediate level, maybe go for the advanced. I will say now though that here's a bit of a cheat code, is that if you get the elite plan, you visually get to see what an elite paddler is doing with this whole week. Now that, like, again, doesn't mean you have to do the full 6 paddling sessions. You can do 2 or 3. The same way as if like you joined an elite club for the first time. Let's say I don't know, you're in Hawaii and you join Outrigger, and there's all these paddlers. Some of them are at the top level of paddling, elite level. They're paddling every single morning. They're going in the gyms into the gym in the afternoon, and you're there watching. But you're not really ready for to hop on their schedule and do everything. But you might just slip in and hop in a training session here and here. You feel fatigue, so you don't go the next day. This is allowing you to build your fitness, but give you a bit of vision in seeing where you want to go. The other cheat code I would say about these training plans is that you don't just have to do a training plan once. In fact, I've repeated my training plans for 20 plus years now. And each time you do it, you're going to get better. You can adjust things here and there a little bit, shift sessions around, shift days around to suit you. At the end of the week, the order of the training sessions aren't too important. but it's the accumulation of the mileage or the intensity, depending on the training phase that you're in, that is important. The accumulated training. And so, you have to find that, but you have to find your balance. But you have to be in tune with how you're feeling and you're reacting to the training that's written down on paper. The more that you do this, the better athlete you'll be. So let's see some of these other points that I've got written down here. So tailoring intensity and volume. So that's as simple as, even within the training sessions itself, the training session might say, 5 times 500 meters, or let's say 7 times 500 meter sprints. And on that particular day, you get to the 5th one and you just feel like you're not feeling too strong or fast, or, and maybe you skip out the last 2 and you don't worry about doing the last 2. That's fine. That's totally fine if you do things like that. Let's say, you get halfway during the week and you've got another intense workout, but you're just not feeling up to it. Just go easy. Turn it into an aerobic. Don't stress that you've missed a training session, because you can always come back next week and get your sessions in. Now, the other thing that I want to really stress is that, and I write this in my training plans, is that on water paddling is the priority. So up here it goes on water paddling is the priority, and then underneath I would say is some kind of replacement for that paddling session, whether you're getting on an erg, you're cross training with surf ski, kayak, stand up, whatever. Maybe something else that's not quite your main discipline, and then comes land training. So on water training is the priority. That's going to build the muscle specific adaptations that you need. Whereas the gym training is important. Yes, it is important, especially for some athletes who lack strength and need that strength to create speed on the water. However, if the gym is preventing you from taking your on-water volume to the next level, then maybe look to push away a bit of the gym. If on the other hand, if you are a paddler that lacks strength, then maybe make the gym a little bit more priority than on water, especially if you're training for sprint races, where gym strength and power becomes more important. So for me, in the context of, for me, I feel like, and I've said this before, I already feel like I have a predisposition to strength. I have a natural level of strength anyway, despite not doing a ton of gym in my programs. Max 3 times a week in the gym, but most often 1 to 2. No training no gym if I'm got a race coming up. And so on water training is kind of my priority, and the cardio aspect of the training plan is my priority because I want to get my weight down. So I'm 93 kilos. However, if you're a 50 kilo paddler, there's probably like a high likelihood that the strength is maybe your weakness and not necessarily cardio, because you're already light, you already have some higher level of VO2, relative VO2 max, because of how light you are. You don't have to, your muscles don't require a lot of oxygen and energy to produce, but one thing that you may lack is the strength and the power aspect. So that's where the gym is important. Now I want to make a specific note to the more experienced generation, 50 plus. Obviously the older we get, the harder it is to recover from training sessions. Now, I would tread carefully with the land training components, like the gym training. But just remember that everything is kind of self-adjusting when it comes to intensity, especially in the gym aspect. Because let's say the repetitions for that particular exercise, 3 times 5 reps. The 5 reps for someone who can bench press 140 versus someone who can bench 60, the weights are going to be different. They're naturally prescribing their own weight that is suitable for them. So there's the argument that the older you get, the more important the gym training becomes, because you want to hold on to your muscle, because your muscle degrades faster the older you get. It's harder to hold on to it. So this is why I keep the gym in there, and I don't take it out completely. I know there are paddlers who are 65 plus on these training plans, but I hope you guys are watching this and remember that the reason I put all of it in there is because I want to give you guys as much value as possible, but never forget that you have the ability to to alter your training plan to suit you best without, the plan isn't to fatigue you beyond the point of repair or push you until you injure yourself. This is where your element of feeling comes into play, so that you can control your fatigue levels, your adaptations to your training. You need this the same way that you need your ability to control your intensity during a race. I like this example. You need the ability to understand your feeling and control your intensity during a race. The same way you need to do that day to day with your overall training. You need to be in sync. Don't just rely on what's written in front of you in training apps or whatnot. Feel your training. Now, so some of these points: address weaknesses and imbalances. I've kind of already talked about that. Listen to your body and adjust accordingly. Track your progress. Tracking is really good because you may make some changes. Note those down so that next time you come back to the same workout or exercise, you can repeat the same thing you did, or change slightly, or improve and things like that. So always take notes. And yeah, I have thought about removing, say, the gym training option from the plans, or removing the water aspect from the plans and selling those separately. However, for now, I'll keep them together. But remember, just understand that if you're someone purchasing a plan and you're worried that the gym training may injure you, or it's just not, the gym aspect is not for you, that's totally fine. You can still do all of the paddling sessions and still get a lot of good volume in during the week. That is totally fine. And just remember that I'm always open for questions. Any training advice, I'll do my best to answer questions. Message me on Instagram or our website, trainlikeaking.com. If you haven't already, check out the training plans. There's a bunch on the website. They're all updated. They're all looking really good. I really enjoy how they are and the content. We have new collaboration with Tire Paddles. So we have 3 different designs you can check out on the website. They're looking pretty cool with a lot of, they're related to a lot of meaningful things here in Aotearoa. So check those out. Also, keep an eye out for new merchandise. There's always new merchandise popping up, and yeah, hopefully looking to get to some overseas races before Hilo, maybe the Gorge. And any ideas on future podcast topics, just let me know, and I'll get in my podcast studio and answer those for you. So thank you guys for listening to another Train Like a King podcast episode, and see you on the next one.